chapter 1 and read verse 18.
Galatians chapter 1, verse 18. Then after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter.
To see who?
To see Peter.
He said, bear with me. It's a whole lot of work that we doing out here, Israel. Sometimes people, they be wanting stuff right away from you. Oh, I'm feeling a type of way because he's not available. Paul said he wasn't able to see Peter until 3 years because he was out traveling. And you got all these other brothers and sisters in different regions trying to learn about the commandments. And they reaching out for help. He said, look, bear with me. As we learn how to bear with our people, we learn how to trust in the Most High. Because sometimes we look for those real instant answers, and you get that when dealing with people. But when you got to bear with someone because you're not getting that desired result right away, that gives you space to learn how to trust the Most High. Because now you got to give it to him. Like, look, Most High, I understand there's only so much I can do. I'm leaving this up to you. I want you to fill this. Fill the gaps for me. Make me to understand. Right? Was that all of that?
Nah. And
Go ahead.
abode with him 15 days.
So one example of why Paul would say, look, bear with me, Israel. As you guys are learning how to keep the commandments, I'm learning how to teach y'all. Bear with me. So it's always a thing of perception, right? Trying to see things from the other person's side as well, because sometimes we get so offended just because we never take into consideration the other person's side of things. Well, you wasn't making yourself available when reality was he just didn't have time, right? All these different situations that arise, even in personal relationships, where small things bubble over into bigger things. And that's one thing we can all agree with. We do lack patience. We're all learning how to bear with ourselves and with our people, right? So go to Galatians chapter 2 and verse 1.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 1.
So he said, Peter, he wasn't able to see him for 3 years because of the work he was doing. Go ahead.
Then 14 years.
How many?
Then 14 years.
14 years. Go ahead.
After I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas and took Titus with me also.
It's so funny because, like I said, when you're reading this Bible, you read about the works that he's doing. It doesn't sound like a 15, 14-year period. And that goes to show that this brother was being diligent and faithful that whole time. This ain't no weekend thing or a couple of months journey. This is really a walk. This is our life now. We live these commandments. We should have these same testimonies when it's our turn to be up in the kingdom and we got books about ourselves. Like, look, 20 years later, sister so-and-so was still doing accordingly. She met up with other sisters who were still keeping the commandments. Like, that's a beautiful testimony. And Paul said, look, bear with me, Israel. It's a whole lot going on amongst our people these days. And the one thing that I see that is making it a lot more difficult and turbulent than it needs to be is the fact that we're not willing to bear with one another. It's the patience. We all lacking that patience. And America knows that. Our enemy knows that. That's what America is loved for right now, because you get the immediate return on investment. It doesn't matter what you want to watch. You got it on demand, literally. You hungry, you can call it up and it's coming to you. You ain't got to cook nothing. And all of that, we get spoiled to that type of lifestyle, right? And we expect things instantly compared to other places like Ghana where, no, you got to take your time and cook everything. Can't just go to the store and buy you meat. You got to go out to the back and kill it, prepare it. And you see how they deal with each other and how they're a lot more patient. And that's why the Most High said in Micah chapter 2, he said, look, don't fall in love with this place. This place is going to destroy you. This place is not your rest. So it's crazy that through all these principles the Most High is showing us, we see all in the areas in our character that we have to correct and the standard that we got to step up to, right? So with that, let's go to the book of Exodus. Jump into some history to see some accounts of how our forefathers was dealing with Israel, how they were bearing with Israel. And before we actually get this, look up the definition of meek. Because that's one word that you see in the scriptures is meek, meekness. You see humility also, but I want to get meek.
Meek, humbly patient or quiet in nature, as under provocation from others, overly submissive or compliant, spiritless, tame, gentle and kind.
Gentle and kind. What else you got?
Let's see.
That was all for that?
Kind. I have other ones.
It was a specific one. I got it right here.
Is it Merriam?
No. You said, is it who?
Merriam-Webster.
Yeah.
Kind.
Go ahead. Get that first one.
Enduring injury with patience.
So hold on. So this is the definition of meek, because you see meekness in the scriptures. It says what?
Enduring injury with patience.
Enduring injury with patience. Go ahead.
And without resentment.
And without resentment. Now, some of us, I'm not going to lie, I see patience in a lot of my people. I see patience. A patient person is willing to go through some stuff, but guess what? They might be a little resentful, but they gonna go through it. But a meek person, when you're meek, you're willing to endure all that injury, not only with patience, but without resentment. That's the type of spirit that we want to be walking up to.
Yes, sir.
To where we're going through all these things and we don't have an evil tongue about it. Where we truly understand that, you know what, this thing is bigger than me. My feelings, they're going to have to get put to the side because I see that there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger agenda at work. Without resentment. That's the part I really want us to focus on. Because today our people are so resentful. You could do anything and our people are ready to hate you. So unforgiving. When the Most High called us to be meek. These days we ready to go at each other's necks over anything. Ready to throw you under the bus, belittle you, make you feel less than. And then after that, we just expect it to be like, ain't nothing ever happened. All these unhealed wounds because pride. Everybody has the need to be right. So with that, let's read about our forefather Moses. I want to go to Exodus chapter 14. And let's start. Go ahead.
I was going to say.
And then talk louder. You always talk super loud.
Con. I was going to say one of the other definitions was humbly patient or quiet in nature as under provocation from others. So even when people are picking at you, because it's not just, like you said, you know, enduring it with patience and without resentment, but even when people are picking at you, we go through a lot of stuff, and it's not necessarily something that you can pinpoint to an exact person. But even when you can, it's like you still have to bear with them despite. Because remember, Yahushua even said, like, what should we do to our enemies? Or what should you do when someone slaps you on the cheek? And he said, turn the other cheek. He's like, don't retaliate.
God.
Oh, praises.
Let's get that Exodus 14, but that's
14.
a good point. Yeah, start at verse 1 and we're going to drop down.
Con.
And the funny thing is when you always go over the history, because there's no way you're just going to remember the Bible reading it front to cover like one time. You got to always go back. It's too much. And it'd be funny, all the gaps that get filled again once you start reading through the history. Because you get familiar with certain stories like when Moses parted the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. If you just go off basic recollection, you can be like, oh, yeah, they had Passover. And after that, they just went to the sea and he split it. But like, nah, it was a lot that happened before that. Right? So read that verse 1.
Exodus chapter 14 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they turn and encamp before Hahiroth, between Midgal and the sea, over against Baal Zephon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea.
So this is when the Most High was literally getting us out of Egypt. Passover already happened. Now we're getting out of Egypt. He said, look, y'all going to meet at this specific spot by the sea, right? Drop down and read verse 5.
Verse 5. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we would let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand.
So we forgot that we was actually running, like we had armies chasing us out of Egypt.
God.
We just remember we ate Passover and then we left. Like, now we had to run up out of there. You feel me? Go ahead.
But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pi-Hahiroth, before Baal Zephon.
So it actually got to a point where we was stuck on the sea. We was surrounded, right? Read.
And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. And they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord.
Now look what they did.
And they said unto Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness?
He just said, man, after all these plagues that you saw the Most High put on Egypt, in this last moment, you gonna all remember this is the whole congregation getting at Moses. They all turned to him like, what, you just didn't want us to get buried in Egypt? You rather us die right here? Go ahead.
Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians?
You got to remember, these people, they thinking they about to get put to death. So you can only imagine how they're talking at Moses. This is one man, potentially in front of 600,000+ Israelites. Because they said it was estimated that up to 2 million is that left with Moses. So a safe number, I'd say, is 600,000. People screaming at you, what did you do? Mad, cussing them out. And for all of that, did Moses turn around and start cutting you? Go ahead.
For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the children said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
So we see how that event actually ended up happening. Because Israel was cussing out Moses, talking about, what did you do? And with all of that, he still found a way to direct them to the Most High. When one of us, we probably took that opportunity to start a couple fights. Like, you got me messed up. Remember, Moses used to live in a big house. He said, I gave all of this up for y'all and you ungrateful? I still could have been up there eating cucumbers and grapes while y'all was working, but he didn't take that time to do that. He said, look, I already understand, y'all just don't get it. And we find ourselves in the same position sometimes where clearly someone we dealing with is not getting it. Is that the opportunity we gonna use to go toe-to-toe and pour fuel on each other's fire? Like, nah, look, I'm gonna go to the Most High on it. Don't even worry about it. We see the example. That's how you be meek. He didn't feel no type of way about it. And the cold part is they got at Moses a couple of times. And so much to where they caused him to do something that the Most High did not command, and he wasn't able to walk into the promised land, literally. He still had to die in the wilderness because Israel was just that pressing on him. And then we see our people today, and we just, well, I don't understand why such and such doing this. And we the same people from the wilderness. We the same Israel. Stiff-necked. Don't want to be led, don't want to be corrected. We are the same people. So the thing is, why not just take the example that we see our righteous forefathers and foremothers that they said? Follow after that. If we know it's a spiritual battle, do I control the spirits? Why not go to the man who controls it? Look, I'm going to leave it in your hands. I can't put my hands on you and make you change. Look, I'm going to bear with you. It's cool. I get it. I'm going to leave it up to the Most High. And we're going to see eye to eye again, you know, in the future, whatever. One example, right? Let's go over to Exodus 17. And we can pick up at, yes, sir. I'm all praise be to the Most High. Let's get Exodus 17 and start at verse 1.
Exodus chapter 17, verse 1. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys, according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink.
Go ahead.
Wherefore the people did chide with Moses and say,
y'all know what chide means? It's the same thing as scolding. All of Israel scolding Moses, talking bad. Go ahead.
Wherefore the people did chide with Moses and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord?
And that's how you know when somebody's not getting it. Because our people will fight tooth and nail to try to alter a system that we did not set up. We didn't make the rules. All we doing is following the handbook. You got to take that up with the Most High. These are the same people that went to Moses and said, who put you in charge?
Right.
At that point, you got to understand, okay, that person, you just got a spirit on you because I know you're not that dumb. Right? Who put you in charge when clearly you see the Most High dealing with me? I done stretched out my hand, the Red Sea split, I closed it up on the Egyptians. You going to ask who put me in charge?
Right.
That's when you just step to the side and you do better. Go ahead.
Right.
And then they just talk mess. And no, it's not even about that. It's wild, but go ahead.
And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses and said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?
Again, Moses being meek. He's taking all of that with patience and not being resentful. And the way you know that he wasn't being resentful is because the Most High went to Moses and he said, look, I'm ready to kill everybody and I'll start over with you.
Right.
Now, here's the question. Would Moses have been wrong if he was like, all right, after all that they put him through? But no, he said, nah, Most High, remember, you made a covenant with these people. You said you was going to love this people, not me. That's how you know the brother was being meek. He didn't take those opportunities. Well, let me not say that because some people be taking too little because Moses did a lot of killing, but that was by the will of the Most High. The Most High literally told him, look, go down there and do this to Israel. Okay. But Moses himself, he wanted the best for Israel. Same thing as the Most High. He said, look, I have no, what did he say? I have no pleasant feelings with when the unrighteous die. He said, I'd rather that all of them repent. But at the end of the day, the Most High didn't make robots. Okay. We make up every day, decide what drawers we want to put on, what socks, and you decide what decision you're going to make too. So he not tripping off that. He said, look, it is what it is. But Moses, he said, nah, I got belief in his people. I'm real optimistic about the future of my people. I know one day they'll get it right, Most High. Bear with them. And the Most High did that on so many occasions. All praises, right? Was that all of that? Con. Let's go to Exodus chapter 32. And I'm just skimming through a couple of examples. It's fit. We had 40 years with Moses dealing with the people in Israel in the wilderness. So what I'm reading is not even close to what they was putting them through. But even with all of that, sometimes we be seeing times where our people are just so ungrateful, right? And I can understand at times why people wouldn't be willing to be more patient with ungrateful people. But it's like, man, we have so many accounts in our history where we're shown that we were ungrateful to the Most High, and he still dealt with us. Got to be there for our people. So let's get Exodus chapter 32, and we're going to start at verse 1.
Exodus 32:1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we would not what is become of him.
So remember, the Most High was dealing with Moses in the not the wilderness, but in the mountain when he was getting the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's where the tables is written on by the finger of God. All of that. The Most High was up there dealing with him for many days. Israel is like, man, it's been a couple of days, Aaron, since we seen your brother. I don't think he coming back. So make us some gods that we can worship. Because whatever y'all got going on, it fell through. Right? Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people break off the golden earrings which were in their ears.
Side note, this goes to show that men can wear earrings. I know that's a big thing in Israel. Brother, you effeminate. You got your ears pierced. Like, nah, the scripture said our sons had their ears pierced. Go ahead.
And brought them unto Aaron, and he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Completely disrespectful to everything that Moses was teaching our people. He was gone for a couple of days, and they forsook it all. Read on.
And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord.
So you can see, obviously, Aaron wasn't as patient as Moses was. Because Moses had a few encounters where he said no to the Most High, to the Most High. Aaron was faced with all those Israelites and was like, damn, all right, give me your gold. We finna make a calf. Matter of fact, when he done, tomorrow is the feast day for it. Go ahead.
And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And the Lord said unto Moses, go, get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves.
Did y'all catch that? I'm going to read it again. Read verse 7.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves.
The Most High just made a clear distinction that he was not our God no more. He said, Moses, the people you brought, your people that you brought, when in all the other contexts, you're going to see my people that I brought out of the land of Egypt. Okay. That goes to show when we're not doing what's pleasing in the eyes of the Most High, he don't want to be bothered with us. We be fools to think that we can live any type of lifestyle we want and the Most High has to accept us and be on our team. No. The scriptures say forward thoughts separate from the Most High. Just that fast he told Moses, like, look, this ain't my people. They serving other gods. But go ahead.
Verse 8, they have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed thereunto and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Verse 9.
And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
Said, is it a stiff-necked people? I think your mic went out.
Yes.
So he said, look, Moses, I've seen this people. It's a stiff-necked people. That sounds like the end of a bad movie. Like, that's our people, though. Stiff-necked. Literally, they don't want to be directed. Like, you tell them to go left, and they just going. Gotta love our people. That's why it's so funny when I see people out here doing these debates that the so-called Hispanics aren't Israelites. And I'm like, y'all must not be around a lot of Mexicans. They Israel. They stiff-necked. Blacks and Mexicans, we are the exact same people. Literally, we do the exact same stuff. If you've ever had home improvement work done, if you've ever worked with black people and Mexicans, you'll know, like, man, they lazy. They be doing some half-ass jobs, excuse my language, right? It's crazy. So even with that instance, Moses was mad. He got mad at that point. Even came down and broke the stones because he's like, dang, y'all just don't get it. But even with that, still prayed on their behalf. Like, you know what? Give me some time. I'm going to go down and make things right. And he did. But unfortunately, a lot of our people were being destroyed in that process. You know, and that's the thing. The Most High, he doesn't give us blind love. You know, at a certain point, that's why Christ even gave us the brotherly and sisterly code. Look, first time, go to that person, you and yourself, talk to him. If you could receive your brother or your sister through that, man, all praises, you want them back. If that don't work, take 2 or 3 witnesses. If that don't work, man, you know what? Take the whole church, the whole congregation, noise of the broad. We want to reconcile this situation, especially if somebody is wrong. And then if all else fails, if nobody wants to get it at that point, treat him as a heathen. God. He doesn't give us just blind love, because at a certain point, the Most High even had enough with Israel. But the thing is, we can't just deal with our brothers and sisters a couple of times and be ready to cut them off. Christ says 70 times 7. The whole thing is you want to practice that love and that forgiveness because the scriptures talk about that openly. How can, the scriptures talk about how could you seeing your brother and your sister not love, and you can't even see me, and then you claim to love me.
Right.
He said, you want your sins forgiven so bad, but you're not even willing to forgive your own people and your own brothers and sisters' trespasses. God. So we got to practice this. The same energy that we want from the Most High, we actually have to show forth with our people. I don't think people understand that. And that's why the whole no camp doctrine is so foolish, because it's like, who are you practicing, you know, these qualities and these lessons and these teachings with? It's just you by yourself. You ain't got nobody to forgive because no one's doing you wrong. You off your own little bubble. If you ain't practiced how to forgive, how you expect the Most High to forgive you? Right. And our people, they'll argue that, and I'll say, all right, we'll see. We'll see. But, you know, the Most High has a funny way of exposing things. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 12. Numbers chapter 12, and we're going to start at verse 1. Okay. And some more history, right?
And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman.
Hold on 1 second. Everybody knows who Miriam and Aaron is, right? It's Aaron's brother. I mean, Moses' brother and sister. So, all right, so go from the top.
And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
So we in the book of Numbers now. Moses like, after all of this, y'all still got something to say? Now they speaking up against his wife. Obviously, it wasn't no little thing because it was a big deal. They was getting at him about this. Go ahead.
And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses?
That same stupid question. So you going to sit here and say, you the only one that the Most High dealing with. Go ahead.
Hath he not spoken also by us?
Agreed.
And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth.
And that's why the Most High was so mad, because they were making a big deal out of something that was so small. And y'all really giving this man hell. And he said, y'all don't even know Moses is a meek man. There's nobody else like him on the earth. And you got the nerve to go up against my servant. All right, I got y'all. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle.
He dealing with this situation ASAP. He said he heard it and he spoke suddenly. He said, hold on. Right? And it's a couple of reasons why he did that. I'm going to touch on them, but go ahead.
And called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forward. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream.
So he said, look, if there's a prophet amongst you, you going to know I'm dealing with him because I'm going to talk to him in a vision or in a dream. Go ahead.
My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house.
He said, Moses, he's not like the rest of these prophets. Read.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?
He said you was really going off and you didn't have any type of fear in you to think that I would regard how you talking to my servant. Sometimes we don't think about that. You get to running off in that mouth and it's just, woo, it's downhill from there. Not even knowing that the Most High is like, wow, so you're not even going to think about what I could possibly be hearing. Knowing that the Most High said his eyes is 10 times as bright as the sun concerning our works. And he said every idle word is going to be judged. You just got to be honest. At that point, you didn't fear the Most High. You wanted to do what you wanted to do. And that's what they had to accept because he was getting on them tough. Read.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow.
Hold on. 1 second. Rewind. Go back to the previous verse.
Verse 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed.
So it said the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. It was the brother and the sister, right? Go ahead.
And he departed. Verse 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous.
What happened to Aaron?
Nothing.
You don't really read about anything immediately happening to Aaron. But the Most High had to make a point. The reason why the Most High had to deal with that so soon was because that was leadership at the time. He said, if the people going to be looking at leadership getting into it like this, that's completely out of order. Let me show y'all the structure once again. And Miriam, for speaking out of turn because she was involved in a situation that did not involve her, she let her opinion get the best of her. She just had to let Moses know how she was feeling. And the Most High said you was completely out of bounds and struck her with leprosy. In so much that Aaron and Moses got to immediately praying for her like, man, we're sorry. We understood our... Actually, keep reading. Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord.
Look, and he quickly called Moses Lord.
Right.
My bad, dog. Look, you got it. Immediately apologizing. Go ahead.
I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly and wherein we have sinned.
And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't even have the common sense to apologize when we know we've been wrong. Immediately, so we got to wait until feelings and nerves is calmed down. You ain't got no time to do that. If you wrong and you know you wrong, you just got to say, you know what, I'm sorry. Give that initial apology so the Most High can give you that stamp like that's respectable, because you got to do right by your people. The scriptures talk about not deferring to give to somebody something that they're owed. If they're owed an apology, you got to give it. You can't make them wait until you feel like you ready to give them that apology. And then once that apology is given, y'all can learn how to bear one another. But the thing is, Aaron, he got dealt with too later on down the line, because you see that his sons ultimately ended up getting put to death. They was doing what they was doing, you know, offering up the wrong incense and everything, but all that is still in regard to this. We can't just do stuff and expect that we're not going to pay for it. The Most High says, don't think that you can just sin, and the Most High going to be pacified at that. He may not get you right now. And that's the reason why a lot of us still be stuck in our foul ways. And why it's so much harder to deal with Israel, because we figure, well, I ain't finna get struck down by lightning or nothing, so. Right. And there's a scripture that talks about that. Most High said that's the wrong mind to have. I'd rather live, you know, these whatever years we're going to be on here, and I can actually feel the Most High getting on me and correcting me, compared to a lifetime of what I think is peace, and then at the end, you in hellfire. That's not cool. That's not cool. So let's go to Matthew chapter 9. So the whole thing was, we wanted to bring out with that history to show, like, Moses, he was the meekest man on the earth. He literally had times where he would have been in the right to put his hands on Israel, cuss them out, deal with them how he wanted to according to his anger, but he did not do that. He said, you know what, it's cool. I understand that my people don't understand. Moses was shown everything. I don't know if we remember that. He got shown the beginning, middle, and the end. He saw it all. So he had a way better understanding. So he's like, man, I ain't even got time to be tripping off you, because you literally just don't understand. You don't have that spirit yet. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get it, but until you do, I'm going to bear with you. And that's what we got to realize. Sometimes some of us be further along in our, you know, maturity spiritually, right, than others. And instead of just realizing that, you want to go tit for tat and lower yourself to be on their level, and you can avoid a lot just by understanding that. Like, look, you're still young. I get it. You still got some time. You're going to go through some things. You'll grow, whatever. That's what we got to start practicing. However, there is a cutoff point. Just want to put that out there. All righty. So let's go to Matthew chapter 9. God, all praise be to the Most High. Matthew chapter 9. And we're going to start at verse 35. Give some insight from Christ.
Matthew chapter 9, verse 35. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people.
I was looking into schizophrenia, right? And you'd be surprised how many of our people actually have that. You don't necessarily have to be hearing voices and talking to yourself to be considered schizophrenic. Having a warped sense of reality, when you got people who blatantly would rather believe in lies instead of the truth, you're schizo. There's something wrong with you. And that was going on at the time when Christ was there. That's why he has so many accounts where he's talking to the Pharisees like, look, does not those who are sick need the physician? This is who I'm here for. Our people are literally sick, literally. You know, these spirits and stuff that get on our people, you can read about the accounts when they were going through the cities and exorcising spirits out of people and how they were acting, right? And then you can put the book down and look at your immediate surroundings, be like, okay, I see what you're dealing with. You got that same spirit. And the Most High called those spirits dumb. So sometimes our people be acting dumb, but it's not them, it's the spirits that's on them. And we got to do our part by living righteously so we can connect with that and get them up out of our people. That's why the scriptures say, you know, the prayer of a righteous man availeth much. And, you know, you got righteous people praying for you and you dealing with stuff, man, you'll be surprised at what that can do for your spirit. But now if you one of those people that's cutting off all relationships and you want to be in your own bubble, who you got praying for you? Especially if you're not all the way right by yourself. You know, it's a support system that the Most High has set up with these churches and these congregations, these camps, you know? So Christ was going through the cities, throughout all the towns. He was teaching in the synagogues and healing all the sick and all those who were diseased with things, right? Read.
And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people.
So he said he was healing everything, right? Go ahead.
But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion
He said
on them.
it was multitudes of our people who were sick. And it said, man, he had to take that moment and really just like, he had to really take it in. It said he had compassion on them at that point. Go ahead.
Because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd.
It said our people have fainted spiritually. Like when you faint, it means you just give up. You can't do anything. And you see so many of our people in that exact same state, in and out of the truth, completely just worn down. Like you look at the lifestyle our people live today, literally just to cope. We over here doing drugs. We drinking all weird types of potions, and our people do a lot of sick stuff and just in the name of getting by. We're sick. Our people are sick. The fact that we glorify gangbanging and prostitution and then want to act like we got this the most highest standards when it concerns other stuff. We was talking about that in the car earlier. Like you got dudes out here gangbanging, killing their own people, pimping. They got hoes and all of that. And you be like, man, you ever smoke crack? Crack. Like, no. Like, as if that's just way below your standards.
Right.
It's crazy. Our people are sick, honestly. And that's why it's so important that we have, more lessons like this and just the word going out in general so that our people can be healed. So he said, he said he looked at the multitudes of the people. It was a lot of work that the nation needed. And he said he had compassion on them. He understood, because if you saw how Christ dealt with his apostles, there's certain times where he would get on them and he would say things like, y'all still don't get it. Because Christ he was way advanced in his understanding. He understood where they should be. But he said, man, I got compassion on y'all. Y'all really lost y'all way. I see why I had to come here pretty much. Right? So he says he was moved with compassion because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Go ahead.
Then saith he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few.
It says so much work to be done out here. And then he's looking at his immediate squad like, man, we need more laborers. We need more people that's going to understand that this isn't just some 1, 2, 3 month, job. This is a lifelong journey that we're taking on and that we're actively building upon. The work's been started since way back then. And we're just adding to that building up this kingdom, because the kingdom is within us. The more work that we do for our nation and amongst one another in our own dealings, the faster we'll get home, right? So with that, go to Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. And then read that when you got it. Con.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, I know thy works and tribulation.
And that's why Christ said, look, the harvest is plenteous. I know your works. I know it's a whole lot of work that y'all got going on, and sometimes it gets overlooked. I understand what you're going through. Go ahead.
I know thy works and tribulation.
And the trials and tribulations that you're going through in my name. Read.
And poverty.
And poverty, because I know I get it. For the work that we do for the Most High, sometimes we feel like we should see a lot more monetarily. I get that. And he understands that too. Go ahead.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
And the stuff that y'all dealing with on a day-to-day basis by your enemies. But watch this. Go to the book of Sirach, chapter 10. He said, I understand everything that you got going on. Trust me, I do. Because I paved the way. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 30 and 31.
Sirach chapter 10, verse 30. The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches.
Read.
He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches?
If the Most High has already shown us honor in our so-called state of poverty, all the blessings and small things that we getting right now that we can see, how much more when we actually do obtain the kingdom and we get that stamp of approval for enduring with our people, for bearing with our people. How much more? Go ahead.
And he that is dishonorable in riches.
Because you got some of our people, they say they got the world, they got it all right now. And they're very dishonorable with what they do have. Read.
How much more in poverty?
Now you can know they're gonna be a complete wreck when they impoverished. It's like some of the stories you see with these stars. They rose to fame real quick, and they blew it all up their nose, and now they living on Skid Row somewhere. Most High said we actually do have something to look forward to, Israel, believe it or not. Go to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13. So with bearing with our people, bearing with ourselves, we always got to keep this in mind. It's not about this and that and the accolades that you receive. It's really about enduring until the end. You know, because it's one thing to get something, but it's another thing to maintain it. You can have a lot of people, and I've seen, oh, I used to do that. It's okay, but what are you doing now? You got to get what it is that we need from the Most High. Get to that standard and then maintain it. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
The same person is going to be saved. That's what we waiting on. We want to endure into the end. Make sure that we're finding ourselves loving our people all the way into the very end.
God.
It's a lot. It takes a lot to love Israel. Con. And you know, it's crazy because even back in the world, I thought I loved my people. Like, you know, like when I see other black people, like, okay, yeah, you know, cool, we black. But it didn't really like click into this truth. Like, I don't just go out there and be like, okay, that's another nigga, it's another female. I'll be like, okay, we're really a nation. That's crazy. Like, I look at you and, you know, I'm smiling and stuff. Like, I have a reason to be happy because of the knowledge that the Most High, he's really teaching us how to love our people. And it's completely contrary to what we've been taught growing up. It's a complete culture shock. But it feels a whole lot better when you're doing it the right way. I love the feast days when we popping bottles, Jake's having a good time, and I ain't got to worry about nobody trying to go on my wallet and steal. I could drop my phone, nobody gonna pocket it. That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. But you don't have that same type of security in the world. But in the world, they be preaching that they love each other. So we know what it is. Go to Sirach chapter 28, verse 1.
Sirach chapter 28, verse 1. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance.
You see that? If you're the person who you want to go tit for tat and you just want to hurry up and get back, the Most High said you're going to find revenge from the Most High. And I'm going to remember your sins. Because guess what? You wasn't willing to forgive. You wasn't willing to bear with your brother or your sister's foolishness. Because remember, that's what Paul said. In my folly, bear with me. Go ahead.
Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he hath done unto thee. So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest.
Read.
One man beareth hatred against another, until he asks, does he seek pardon from the Lord?
Ain't that something? I'm coming in here every day and I got a complete hatred for you in my heart. But I'm expecting the Most High to not have hatred or forgive me. Read.
He showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself. And doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins?
Crazy, right? It sounds hypocritical. But sometimes we just have to hear it for ourselves because sometimes we be the person doing this. Or you got that man, like, I'm not, nah, if it's him or her, no, never. You know how it is. You know how it is. It be that one person. Everyone else you cool, but just that one, you just like, nah, I can't look past that. Most High is like, wow, for everything you did, huh? All right. Go ahead.
If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins?
Go ahead.
Remember thy end, and let enmity cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments.
Because those are the things that we should be focused on. One day we all gonna die. What's gonna be the story that they're gonna tell about us? And he said, if you want it to be a good one, abide in these commandments. Go ahead.
Remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor.
See, you're supposed to bear with your people, but not malice. Not that deep-rooted hate, that ungodly hate. Because that's the thing. You actually read about godly hate. You know, David said that. He said, I hate my enemies with a perfect hatred. That means I ain't just coming at them for no type of foolishness. Like, they've really done something to deserve this. A lot of our times, I can objectively say we have that feeling for people who do not deserve that. The things that we could look past and forgive, we just be so unwilling. and make it a bigger situation than what it needs to be. Go ahead.
Remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance.
Wink at ignorance. If you know it's somebody in ignorance, they really don't know no better, wink at it. It's not a big deal. Go ahead.
Abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy sins. For a furious man will kindle strife.
That's the thing. We don't want to find ourselves being furious. Sometimes we just be so full of hatred. You need that time just to unwind and let that steam go out. You can't be that bothered to where you're just filled with hate. It's going to destroy you, seriously. It's bad for you. That's how, stress and all that kills our people. Go to Sirach chapter 17. Sirach 17 and verse 24.
Sirach chapter 17, verse 24. But unto them that repent, he granted them return, and comforted those that failed in patience.
So this is the thing. We're focusing our souls on trying to become meek. And that's patience without the resentment. The Most High said, if you're one of those people that repent, you'll be granted return. And he's going to comfort all of us who fail in patience. Because there's a difference between the person that's failing in patience and the person that's just being wicked. Failing in patience is like, man, you know what? I've been seriously working on this, but I ain't gonna lie. It was this one time they tipped me over the edge and I messed up. I crossed that line and I knew I shouldn't have. That's failing in patience because you got the opportunity to not do that no more, or to make sure that over the span of your walk, they were far and few between. But the person who's going to fail just because they want to be wicked, that's the lifestyle. That's a lifestyle of iniquity. That's just what they do. So there's a difference. The Most High is not ignorant of that. Read.
Return unto the Lord and forsake thy sins. Make thy prayer before his face and offend less.
You see that? Offend less. Does the Most High give us license to sin? No. But realistically, we know a people who's trying to get their stuff back together, there's going to be some small instances. He said, make sure it happens less and less. Far and few between. Go ahead.
Turn again to the Most High and turn away from iniquity.
Continue in iniquity?
Turn away from iniquity.
If someone's coming to you and they're pointing out your iniquity, saying you are wrong, Most High says, turn from that. Don't use that as an opportunity to rebel again and worry about how you feeling. Our opinions is going to get us in a lot of trouble with the Most High if we don't check it. Go ahead.
For he will lead thee out of darkness into the light of health, and hate thou abomination vehemently.
And that's the thing. As long as we're focusing our souls on becoming better and things that are abominable unto the Most High, we hate that. Start getting our minds to be geared on that and understand that. Most High said, you'll be good, and I'm going to love you. Welcome back to the fold. So, unless you got anything, my brother, that's all I have for tonight, Israel.
Not at this time.
Thank you, my sisters. Thank you. Thank you. All praises. That's the end of the lesson. Aharon, you can go ahead and close it down. Was there any